How can Hollywood better support what you guys are all looking at, thinking about doing? Like, just anyone who wants to answer that question.
Yeah, I could jump in. I've got the mic. But so a couple things where I think to the power of HP, right? If you're familiar with Flame, real-time compositing, one of the biggest workstations that hosted that application was the Z8. Now the Z8 Fury. This is a beast. And you would put the most expensive beast of a machine for that software to make it run fast. Why? Because you had 4 clients sitting on the back couch and you're working in real time, as quick as you could, to get the creative answers out. Like right then and there, you had all the creative choices right happening in the room and you need to get them out onto the screen as quickly as possible. I believe that's the same for generative AI, where you're going to want to put that machine in an artist's hands to remove all friction for the creativity. You're going to speed that, you're going to accelerate all of that up. And I think that's where there's magic that happens, where it's not just, oh, I told the AI what to do and it did it. There's a lot of back and forth. You're having conversations where you're going, oh, I didn't think about it that way. I'm going to try this. And it's not like where GenAI is right now, in my opinion, we're still far away from typing, put me into the next Marvel movie with, so-and-so. So, I'm not saying for a small studio or a small indie production who couldn't afford hiring Weta to make a shot of a cat playing piano on the moon, whatever, right? So you can actually generate that. That's something that's putting that creativity into their hands, and they can get that done. But I think where we're at is right now it's hard to control, and I think that control is coming. But right now we're a few years away from seeing that through. And I think this is going to accelerate artists. It's going to make open up new possibilities to small creative people that want to get that done. I think it's an amazing time to be an independent artist at this point.
I think that a lot of corporate accounts are actually having mandates to do AI. And I think that to help Hollywood is don't be scared. There's going to be watermarks put in place, for instance, in content. There's going to be watermarks placed in cameras, in the lenses. So there's a lot of things to do to protect your content. And I think that there needs to be more of an embrace of it. It's not as scary as people think. This isn't like a Steven Spielberg movie where he freaked us all out. He did a really good job because everyone's freaked out. But in general, it's something you should embrace. When you look at artists, they used to have a pencil and paper, and that's how they did art. And then compute came. And look how great, and look how many things we've accomplished since then. The art's gone through the roof. We're doing so many better things, and if you trust AI, you use AI, you're going to have that same experience, and it's going to be better, and it's really going to help all the artists. And when you say that this is the best time to be an artist, it truly is. And supporting them, and for all the money people, give them the money they need to get the job done.
The money guy is right there, because I remember. But Scott, did you have some thoughts about, getting Hollywood engaged?
Sure. I mean, I think for us, as we continue to build, we're definitely looking at Hollywood to help us make sure that we build in the way that helps the creator, right? And whether that's the small creator or the large creator, I think for us, what we're continuing to do is outreach and see how we can, empower artists in all different ways with our technology. So,
Dane, do you want to answer?
I think that it's already happening to some degree, and the point I was trying to make, and I'm going to get to it now, is that we created this fear that had nothing to do with Hollywood, and we're pinning it on AI because it's a complex subject. But let me make it very simple for you. I was talking to Leonard Jenkins, he's the chairman of the SFTE. I'm a Leonard fan too, I'll give props to him as well. And asked him, Leonard, how can we possibly know if what I'm working with as a producer isn't stolen, isn't someone else's property, shouldn't be licensed, I shouldn't be asking for permission? And he proceeded to explain it to me and email it to me. So once we can legally define what the ethical source material is, the field's wide open. So again, these things are already happening. It will take a success and a breakthrough, but that ground is already being laid as well. I think we're ready for, we're preparing ourselves for a wave of demand.
So I think everyone up here has an immense amount of experience. It's just incredible to see, everyone with all of their background. And I guess my question more so is, the industry is super fragmented. The people are fragmented. It's a massive ecosystem of film, TV, music, internet, advertising, gaming. Over 500 million people are in the industry, and the supply chain is also fragmented. With your background and your experience, how do you think AI would be able to streamline the fragmented workforce and the supply chain of the industry?
The first problem you have when everyone in this room can make a film is, I'm sorry, most of them won't be good. And there has to be a gate, right? There has to be a way to go through that data. We're in a world now where everyone on the planet can create content, and as you just pointed out, we don't know where the audience is. If only we had a supercomputer that could help us with that. And it just seems obvious to me where the initial application is. I just finished a project for Apple, an episodic 8-part series for a venerable director, his first time using episodic and delivering to a box instead of a studio. And I did everything in AI, everything non-gender. All of the production tasks, one-man band. I challenged myself to do it, and it worked. So I've proven now that were I seeking that work, I could do 4 things very well. So you just multiply it, and again, it's just a matter of figuring out where the puck is going and making sure.
I think that, to the same point, actually, I think just AI is going to make the creator's role smaller, right? I think the things that we're starting to see and be able to focus on is making the processes easier, right? I've been a workflow expert really in this industry for a long time, right? In producing really complicated types of content. And the things that are most interesting is that most of the problems are caused by lack of good communication. Really, it's the human error that causes the budget overages, right? And as we start to, I don't think that the process of creating content is ever going to fully change. Yeah, we might have some content, as I said before, which is just a one-man band, but we also means that we might be able to create a lot more content with fewer people because the processes are better, which means that we can be more efficient in the way that we create and actually more true to our vision.
Did you want to add anything, Jason?
Just to also underline that point, I think, when we have tools, and I think the tools are important, right? Where we have tools that accelerate those artist workflows, you're gonna remove that friction. You're gonna be able to accelerate those ideas, and I'm excited to see what comes out of that. There's a bit of a flywheel action that will, when somebody sees a piece of work, then they launch off that, and you have this back and forth, inspiring creativity between groups. I'm excited when we have new innovations coming from that. I don't think it's going to be a regurgitation machine. People are worried about having generative AI just chew itself up, generate data that gets then consumed by the generative models. I'm looking forward to that next innovation that's going to come out of this and see where that takes us.
Do you have a question?
Oh, thank you. Actually, I just had a quick question. Follow up to what you said about sort of privatizing some of these networks as you overlay into public space. You made some references to providing model creation services, compute. So is Verizon getting into that space as well, not just providing?
No. So we won't ever be very clearly we won't ever be we will be the facilitator, right? So we're in the space of making the tools available so that we can then partner or create ecosystems for the other companies who can focus better on that space. So we can start to look at, just most immediately we're deploying industry standard equipment on top of our networks. So things that are simply now that are done with small cell Wi-Fi, right? We can make that better, very simply. Like we have different bands of licensed cellular systems that we own, right? And from there we can deploy different technologies on those bands. The same way that we have improved communications for the NFL, The reason why that worked so well is because we're deploying a cellular band at the stadiums, and then there's secure communications for each team, meaning that there's no fear of having any communication leak about what's going on there. But also, the cellular technology itself does handoff really well, right? So when they're moving around, there's no fear that you're going to lose communication by moving from one cell to the next. We'll continue to push forward in that space with individual industry standard equipment on top of our networks, and then from there exploring beyond where we can get into the AI space and deploy the great tools that are out there on the wider internet, and how we can then bring them into a smaller bubble, which would be more of an intranet, meaning giving all the capabilities of broader connectivity without actually having to be connected. You could still shoot a car commercial in the desert and have all the communication capabilities that you need, as if you had fantastic connectivity.
With an HP workstation powered by.
I was going to say something very similar to that. NVIDIA loves our partners. So the way we work, right? So we are only 30,000 people as a company, but we're not that big. So we rely on our partners, HP, Verizon. So we have a technology stack that most people can't buy off the truck. We wind up having more developers, software developers, than hardware developers. So if you want to build a program, you're going to need hardware and the device driver and the platform, Omniverse, CUDA, RTX, right? All of those platforms to be able to develop that program. To send that transport media, or maybe Holoscan for media, which is a transport that goes SMPTE 2110 across wireless networks, and that's all required. That runs on HP hardware. So all of this, the ecosystem is really important to get the new media from the way things are going to be done. We're going to rip out the standard coaxial cables and replace it with network cables. So it's broadcast over IP. And that'll be the future for broadcast video, is broadcast protocols over HP.
So do you have your cell number so we can call you to?
Absolutely, please. They'll be up on the number.
Questions? Okay, questions.
Don't want to be negative, but cybersecurity. There's been major game launches.
Some guy saying.
There's been major game launches that had to be put on hold for a week. There's in South Korea, kind of nearby, and Sony had an interruption there. So I'm just wondering about next level encryption, red teaming, whatever you do to make it a safer environment.
I can speak a little bit to that. So any wall you build, somebody's going to build. If you build a 10-foot wall, somebody's going to build an 11-foot ladder, right? So I think you're always going to have a case where there's a scale between perfectly usable, which is perfectly insecure, and then perfectly secure and nobody can get to it, right? And somewhere there has to be that scale where you can get access, it's still usable, it's fun, it's easy to use, and you're still creative and productive. So there's always going to be intrusions, and I think as it's going to be the education of people using those systems. We have something called Morpheus, which is an AI tool that does user fingerprinting, so behavioral fingerprinting. So basically, if any anomalies happen, if a user suddenly who's in accounting starts poking around in other places that they never poked in before, those raise alarms to the security staff. So there's ways to combat that, and I think same thing with AI. As we have these in the near future, I think generative models are not going to be that dangerous, but there are bad actors that will take LLMs and use that to affect social media. And I think in the same way, you're going to have AIs that are going to try to break into networks. You're going to require good AI to stand at that gate to try and defeat that bad AI. So I think you're going to a whole new industry of people playing this cat and mouse game.
Thanks. Hi, Andy Stack with Creator Capital, and I'll go positive. So you all have a really interesting perspective across the board, working with many different companies and technologies. So over the next 12 months, what is the most exciting thing what is one most exciting thing that a product or a technology or a company that is doing something that is not in your company and that you're not working on?
Dude, that was
That was so easy until the end.
You just stole my rap.
Who wants to go first?
I don't want to go first. I signed too many NDAs to go first.
So in the broadest possible terms, because all this reluctance is because that's a tough question to answer honestly and fully disclose if you're in the business we're in. But I'm building a supply chain from script to exhibition of collaborative entities that will incubate and evaluate ideas, and the other end of which is looking for the market for them. Once you connect those two things, there's no stopping you. And I want to go back to security for a second, even though I know it isn't the question. Very important for someone like me. I'm not a computer engineer, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a security expert, but I've been burned with security issues. And also if there's a couple of friends of mine in the back row, if Chris and Jenny are making a movie and they give me a scene they want me to bid, we're going to go through 3 days of shenanigans, signing NDAs, and which state is it tied to, and all of that goes away when you have a secure network. I worked on high-profile films. There was never a leak once we went to the secure network and were tech-enabled. So that hurdle is leaving.
Yeah, that might change since China's quantum computer science is correct. They great encryption with a new quantum computer, but
That's what I like about working with Chris. He's always on the next thing.
And we're going to stay positive. Okay, go ahead. Anybody there? What's a big thing turning you on right now? That's contextual to this conversation.
Thanks, Chris. It's like a glimpse into the future. I think not everybody sees it yet, but I don't know if you follow Unitree. This is not our company. This is a robot manufacturer. It's hard to imagine you're going to have robots in your house. Many of you probably already have a Roomba, so that's where it starts. Slippery slope. So I think if you're going to ask me what the future is, robots and avatars. Those are most imaginary, like what a robot looks like, but in a 2D way. So these are frontiers where I think we still have a lot to go, and for all sorts of reasons, they're going to accelerate.
I think I figured it out. I'll say a twofold answer to your question, Andy. I'm super excited, not about one particular product, but about all the incredible startups that are starting to see and that have really genuine, great ideas. I think that every day it's exciting to see how people are using AI to create something that is really useful, and to the previous point, simplifying processes to reduce the human error, right? And I can think of a dozen of them off the top of my head in specific spaces that are going to make life easier for us in the industry and everywhere else. The other thing I'm also really excited about, we actually have, if you notice next door, we're just starting to build a spatial capture rig, and Gaussian's flat in that space is getting really exciting. Also, the real capability for us to now be able to stream 3D objects directly into VR headsets and to really enable the true capability of streaming AR content is going to be really, really interesting in the near future. And that, again, from its base is because we're solving these problems with the help of AI.
Jason used to be known as Mr. Nerf.
I want to change my answer to the Gaussian splats. Yes, I totally agree. That is the future. I think there'll be there'll be dynamic Gaussian splats or Nerfs or Nerfs are so 2022.
But you were the first person that ever talked about that to me, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that there is new technology that's coming out just around the corner. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger. The dream is, for many people have imagined VR headsets where you're seeing games played in 360 on your coffee table. That's not that far away.
Right, Kimberly.
I feel like we're in an episode of the Jetsons, because all the things you dreamed and imagined as kids and you heard would happen is now happening. We have driving cars, we have robots who are going to babysit my 3 children for me. It's amazing, but the excitement in the tech industry right now reminds me of when the cloud came out. And everybody's talking about the cloud, but this is the most technical advancement in the next 10 years. And we all get to be part of it. I mean, we're all part of history. And it's amazing to see what everyone's going to do with it. Some of the stuff I've seen at HP and beyond and with our customers, it would blow your mind. And it's so next level, it's amazing. And some of it's taking the past and paying homage to the past, some of it's forward thinking, but all of it is, it's going to be such a different type of entertainment. And that's all I can share legally.
There's one more question here before we wrap, and we're going to go on a great tour of the rest of the lab, which you have to see, which Luke is going to take you on. So, wasn't there another question here? Somewhere? Okay, over here. All right, let me do this one.
Thank you for mentioning Cincy, number 1. I'm a part of their technology committee. And then my question is for Scott. Wait, excuse me if I'm going to get her name wrong. Ada. Is
Yes.
it? Can you, it's world building.
Sure,
essentially,
exactly.
Right? Real live world building in this environment. Now, walk me through the process. If I'm prompting to Ada and I say, Ada, put me in Brazil, right? And I want to be a part of the most immersive experience, but I also want to be a part of Carnival, but I don't like the color, right?
Sure.
Can you change the color? Is Ada able to, is she in a stage of deep learning and she has the neural network to retain the information and then output the same world? And what if I want to change the sky to blue and the ground, my foreground, to green? Can she do that, or is the entire frame broken?
So, I'm a SIMT member, by the way, so just jump in there. Not yet. And let me say that Ada is just something that kind of we started to play with under the art of possible. I'm not necessarily sure that it'll ever be a well-developed Verizon product in that space, but as I said earlier, I think it's really important for us to continue to play with the technology so that we can still understand the process, and that's what leads to creating a great product from there. But I will say, yes, on the roadmap with my engineers is exactly that. We're continuing to explore how we could change each individual portion of it. Say we create a desert, and you're like, hey, let's get rid of that rock, or let's move it over to there. We also hope to kind of build in the capability of using a general, like a Vive controller, or where you might be able just to point at something and move it around, color something, let's get rid of this. I mean, a lot of this work, and none of this work is really revolutionary, right? In the generative AI world of creating, 2.5D environments, a lot of companies are doing that. Where we really started to get excited about it is being able to have the conversation that really helps the creative process. And I think that's something was unexpected to exactly that, because when I start to try to create an environment and we're going to create something that we're actually going to shoot on, I'll know it when I'll see it, right? But sometimes, me not being an artist myself, there's never been that capability for me to draw what I wanted to create. But having a conversation, brainstorming, for lack of a better word, is really the way that I've always been able to create. And so I think that's what we're going to continue to push within that space. And then, again, see how we can add additional power to it so that we can create tools that we can bring out onto your sets and so forth.
Let's have a big hand for this amazing panel. Jason's giving out tokens, right? Just kidding. GPUs, do you have GPUs in your pocket or something?
Cover your chair.
So, and you get a Chevy, and you get a Chevy. So Luke is going to take you guys on a tour, whip you around the lab. We're a little low on food and beverage now. We're wrapping at 7, but we're getting some more But we'd love for you to see the rest of the space, and then we'll be in contact with you. We're going to send you all a nice note following up on this visit. And if you're interested in exploring innovation with Verizon, there'll be an opportunity there to follow up. And definitely we'll be getting you that code for Infinity, which is IF2420, I think it was. But definitely check out that event as well. And then, do you guys have anything that folks should follow up on? Anything coming up?
Inception program.
Inception program.
NVIDIA Inception program.
And then also HP, go on there and configure a really powerful workstation to take over the world. All right, let's have a big hand for everybody. Luke is going to take you around. It's amazing what you're about to see. So he'll.
Yeah, if you guys want to join me, I'm going to go to meet everyone in the lobby. If you guys want to take a tour, I'll be there in a few minutes.